So hi, I'm Kristine. It's great to meet some of you for the first time this evening, and I recognize quite a few faces, hopefully mostly friendly. Um, I did have the opportunity to come to the meeting in August, and I joked that I either needed to bring my big girl pants or a box of tomatoes, depending on how the evening went. So I wish I could show you my beautiful family. But I also know that there's enough people who've kind of heard most of my spiel about like who I am and where I'm from that I want to kind of shorten some of it so that you don't have to sit through the same thing again. And I will share my PowerPoint with the group, and then you can look at it and you can call me and give me your piece of your mind if you'd like to. So most people want to know, like, gosh, Kristine, how the heck did you end up in Washington when you're from Ohio? And so let's just start with that. So I grew up in Granville, Ohio, which is a small college town east of Columbus. My husband and I are both from that small college town, although he was what we call a Dow transplant, where he was in Michigan for a while, then got moved to Arkansas, and then they got moved to Ohio, then they got moved back. And not high school sweethearts, but he and I have been married for 29 years, and we moved out to North Mason. We've bought a home in Belfair with my 86-year-old father-in-law and my husband and my dog and my cat. We are super, super excited to be here, and I was so thrilled that my neighbors convinced my father-in-law to come dancing last week at the hub, because I've been trying to convince him that like we could take him, he'll meet some nice friends, but we have a couple really nice neighbors, and they play in the band, and so they convinced him that they could bring him and it would be okay. It wouldn't be quite as nerdy as being dropped off by your son at the age of 86. So, yeah. Yeah, so right now, my husband is actually, ironically, even though we're all from the Midwest, my brother-in-law is in Montana now. My brother and my cousin are in Sequim, and I still have family back in Ohio. But we are just so thrilled to be here. My brother moved to Sequim about 15 years ago, and quite honestly, when he moved out to this area from Ohio, we were like, what, you're doing what? You're going where? Like, why are you going that? He'd always just talk about the beautiful things and the things they could do outdoors and hiking and crabbing and fishing, and like always would try to get us to come and visit. And so when you come from the airport, you either go through Belfair on the way up to Sequim, or you take the ferry and you go over that way. So for many years I've been through the Belfair area and, admired the Hood Canal, and some days you'd see Rainier and some days you wouldn't, depending on your drive through. Just love the area. And to be honest, like a year ago, my husband, my father-in-law, and I were on vacation out in this area last September. It was actually the week after Labor Day, so very similar to about a year ago. And we have two grown children. We have a 26-year-old daughter who lives in Indianapolis, and she is a speech and language pathologist who, despite all the training she has working with autistic children, her passion was working with stroke and traumatic brain injury patients in a rehabilitation hospital. So she is a happy girl living in Indianapolis, living her best life. And our youngest son, 23, graduated from The Ohio State University. I will say we were a house divided though, because my husband was born in Michigan, and so he still loves Michigan, and my son loves Ohio State, and so I just would never pick sides unless, it would be whoever was home, I'd watch that and cheer for whoever. So I always joke that it was the best time to go and get your shopping done at the grocery store, because everybody would be home watching the Ohio State game. But yes, so we were out here a year ago, September, and talking about the fact that our children are well established. My son got married right after graduating to his high school sweetheart, whose name is Kristen, spelled with a K. It's the good way to spell Kristine and Kristen, and are happily married in Chicago. And so we were at a point in our life where, we've always lived in Granville, Ohio. We're really proud of that small college town. But there are just opportunities out here in the Pacific Northwest to be around the environment and to be outside and to really get to experience hiking and fishing and camping and things that we really are passionate about that don't really exist in Ohio. So I think it's what I call kind of a little bit of kismet or fate or whatever, but that week we're kind of big dorky people, and whenever we're around, like, we look up the school districts and we look at their website and we see, what's going on. And obviously your superintendent was retiring, so we thought, why not? And literally at that point we saw an orca, And then we saw a rainbow. And we thought, holy cow, this is supposed to happen. So we kind of took a running leap and thought, nobody's going to want somebody from Ohio. I was the superintendent in a small district east of Columbus. It was 130 square miles, about 1,200 kids, and a lot of similarities to the community out here. A lot of pride, a lot of people who've lived there their entire life, lots of generational families where like there'd be teachers who'd had their mom and the kid and the grandparent used to work there, and things that you see here too, which is really great. And lo and behold, North Mason was willing to take a chance on me, so we were super excited to move out here. My husband moved out here the end of April, and I finished up my contract working there as a superintendent, and then came out in the middle of June, and I think started working the next day. So there is still a lot I don't know about the school district, and there's still a lot I don't know about the community, but I'm really loving the opportunity to get to meet people and to get to learn about the district as well. You can go on the website and read my whole bio. I mean, I know that you mentioned a little bit of it, but again, Ohio, born and bred, except for a stint where I was a curriculum director at the International School of Dakar in West Africa, in Senegal, when my kids were in 5th grade and 8th grade, and my husband was self-employed, and so he was kind of going back and forth because the internet was not quite as good as we thought it was going to be over there, which probably shouldn't have been a surprise to us in retrospect. But yes, so we are excited to be here. My father-in-law is just loving this area, which is just so good because, when you're 86 and you've lost a spouse and all of a sudden you're kind of being uprooted, he was a great sport. He was super excited about the opportunity to come out here and meet some new people, and he gets dropped off at the Belfair State Park to go walking with his walking sticks while my husband goes to the grocery store. He's retired. So, that's one of the things he's able to do for us. So don't think I don't like to go to the grocery store. It's just he can go during the day, and that's a great help to me. My son is a second-year science teacher in Chicago Public Schools. He's a 7-12 physics major / STEM education major. And so it's just really, to me, very interesting that my daughter ended up not in education, where I thought she would end up being a special education teacher, and my son ended up teaching science.
He wants to meet you too.
Oh my gosh. That's a different one that I saw in the parking lot. You know what? I don't think my cat would like it if I brought him home as a door prize. So, yeah. But anyways, family of educators. My mom was a kindergarten and first grade teacher her entire career. My dad started his career as a social studies teacher before he started working in a community college. But one of the things, oh, you're so cute. He's out of here. One of the things that was part of my interview, and I will say for those of you, I recognize a couple people from the audience, like it was a long day. Like it started at 7:30 in the morning and I finished up at 8:30 at night and got in the car and drove and had to take an all-nighter back to Ohio. But I actually really liked and appreciated the process because I got to be in every single school. I got to meet classified members, principals, teachers, community members. But it ended up with me having to talk about my 100-day plan in front of an entire audience, which is probably actually one of my least favorite things to do. Like if you ask me like what are some of my favorite parts of my job, like you put me in a school, I get to see kids, or you like be able to try to problem solve a problem for a parent or a principal or a teacher, like those are the things I love doing. But I will do this part of the job too because it's important so that people kind of know who I am. Like I am very much a person of my word. If you call me, I'm going to answer and call you back as soon as I can. You can tell me what you think, and even if you think I made a horrible decision, like I will listen to you respectfully. I'll try to explain to you like why we made the decision that we did. And I always say to people like you're probably only going to like, especially if it has to do with school cancellation, only 30% of the people are going to like that, and some of them might be teachers. But what you get is what you see, and I am going to be a person of my word. I've been listening into the community that I'm out and about, and I've heard concerns about safety. I've heard concerns about bullying. And while I don't have a magic elixir to fix those situations, like I do realize that there are some things that can be done to help parents feel more comfortable with safety and with bullying and feel like they're being heard. I know that some of the challenges with public education is like when you hear that something happened at school, like you want to know what happened to that other kid. And we can't tell you any of those things, so sometimes it makes it seem like nothing's happened, when really, in actuality, like there's a whole lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. We just cannot break privacy in that way and share that with you. But when I came, as part of that 100-day plan, I had kind of 3 buckets that I had put all of my information in, and it was around developing relationships and getting to know the culture, communication and trying to have partnerships in the community, and then taking a look at our data. Like there's some work that has to be done with our state test data, which is only just one measure of a school district. If it's state testing data, it's one measure in time on one day or over several days. And there's a whole lot more to education than just state testing, but it's also something where we should aspire to be better always, because our kids deserve it. You'll see when you see my PowerPoint, I took my 100-day plan, which is in these 3 buckets, and have broken it down over my 30-day goals, my 60-day goals, my 100-day goals, and kind of have like a progress monitoring tool that I share with the board. And so they can see like what's been completed, what's still in progress, what if I not had started. Because I will say, like, I have a tendency to sometimes bite off more than I can chew and think I can get more done than is like realistic in a short amount of time. So for instance, like one thing on my not started list is like I really aspire to make a back to school video message to send out before school started. And for those of you who are parents, like you're very well aware that I did not do that. One of the things that we lost with the levy was our full-time communication person, and so we're just trying to figure out like who can chip in and do different things. And my secretary and I and some of the principals are figuring out all kinds of things about Facebook and our website that were more part of the job duties before. But when I was interviewed by the Shelton Mason paper a while ago, like one of the things they said is like, did you know that the levy had failed? And I had accepted the job, I think, about a week or 2 before that. And obviously I knew there was a levy from doing my research and from being here in January. But I still would have picked coming to this community, even with knowing that the levy failed or was going to fail. Because I think that, unfortunately, whether you're in Ohio or you're in Washington, there's just really, quite honestly, never enough funding for public education. And like Washington, a lot of that falls on the backs of property owners. And the majority of the community, in most communities, do not have school-age children. So it's always really important to make sure that the community is aware of the good things that we're doing in our schools, try to make you feel a part of it as much as we can, and help you see that it's a good value for your dollar to help us raise good citizens who are going to end up being your next door neighbors or your employee, or somebody that you see at church or something. But I will share that tool just in terms of progress monitoring so that you can kind of see the areas that I've been working on with the board. I'm only 2 board meetings in. I did not get the calendar out and count how many days it's been exactly, but I started July 1st officially, so you can kind of do the math. But I have, I'm really prioritizing spending time in the schools and getting to see the kids and the teachers and the principals in action, letting them know that like I am put on my work boots and get the work done with people. Like I'm not somebody who just wants to design the situation. I want to like be a part of whatever solution it is in whatever way is most helpful for teachers and families and principals. I did bring some slides about some of the reductions that the district had to make prior to me starting, because I thought maybe some people would have some questions about that. But I will also say that if you really want good in-depth information about that, you can watch any of our board meetings, because our financial officer, Dan King, is right there, and every month he is giving reports to the board about what money was spent, where we are with our cash flow, and a whole lot of other information. And he's also done several really great presentations about the levy and what we use those dollars for and why they're important for our district. Some new initiatives that I'm getting ready to roll out that I'm hoping maybe you would consider being a part of is I will be doing what I'm calling Soup with the Soup a couple times a year, where we will be offering like a soup lunch You can come on in, eat lunch, fire your questions at me, just have conversations. We'll give you a little update on what we're doing in the school for that part of the year. And I'm also working on developing what I'm calling a community ambassador program, where we will invite anybody from the community, parent, student, anyone who has a connection to North Mason to apply to be an ambassador. And we will have a monthly meeting where we will be looking at in-depth information about the district. So one month you might be learning about special education. The next month you might be learning about transportation. The goal would be is that in these in-depth meetings once a month, like over, let's say 9 months, you come to 9 meetings, you'll really have a better understanding of the inner workings of the school district, so that when you're out in public or on Facebook or wherever and you see people saying like, I don't know, something crazy, you might think like, oh, I can pipe up and actually say like, no, that's actually not this, like I learned about this, and really be an ambassador for the school. And then the goal would be that each year we'd have 12 new people join us for this stint, and so that we could grow more people who really have a deeper understanding of school finance, the challenge of maintaining facilities, the fun of trying to do transportation over 130 square miles with some of the roads around here are not very bus friendly. But I don't really want to like talk at you for a huge amount of time, but I would love to try to answer your questions. I know that I will say, like, I feel very fortunate that there are members of the community who have stepped up and have been meeting weekly on the back end to develop some information about the levy and why the community thinks it's important. That is a community-led group, but I'm just really thrilled and grateful that there are so many people in the community that are willing to come to those meetings, because I know there are a million other things people could be doing, church, house, family, all the good stuff. But fire it away. Anything you'd like to ask me or anything you'd like me to try to talk about, I'm more than happy to. I'm also happy just to go around and have individual conversations with people. I think it's really important for people to understand if there is a problem that they've had in the past that they think has not been addressed. Like, I'm never going to be bad-mouthing things from the past, but I'm more than happy to hear about whatever it is that maybe you didn't feel like got resolved in a way that made you happy. And we can at least talk about what the challenge is and maybe a way to try to help you feel like you've been heard and move forward. But hopefully this won't be a tomato throwing session. So, yes, sir.
I just want to make sure you are aware of, if this levy fails, you also forfeit the DNR timber tax.
Yes.
I mean, and the general public doesn't realize that, but that's a lot of money that nobody in the school district, besides the tax appropriation. I have great grandkids in the school, and I'm not saying I agree with everything, but I voted for it last time, and I voted for it again this time, because, as I put it, I don't want to for the sheriff. You either pay up front or you pay later. Which way do you want to do?
Yes, Sheriff Sperling is definitely been a good partner for the school district, and
I encourage people, don't vote for it, even if you don't want to pay the taxes, because the money isn't needed, it's gotta happen. And if we're cheap on this, and our law enforcement and jail system will pick it up 10 years later.
yeah. Thank you for bringing that up about the timber tax, because being from not in the area, that I did know, but when I found out for the first time, it was definitely a, tell me more about that, like explain how that works.
I
So,
was involved in forming a hospital district,
okay.
and I laid out the budget for everything we could have, and I'm going, oh my God, where the hell we get this money? I don't count on that, I didn't
Yeah.
know about it at the time.
Yeah, and I know that it's not the same amount that we get every single year, so it is a little hard to budget for, but you're right, that without the school levy.
For hospital district, we count on 10,000, and we've gotten as much as 120,000.
Wow.
And we're a small district, and the school district, I'm sure, got a lot more than that.
I actually cannot recite those facts, but I know there's somebody in the audience who probably could, so, right back there. And again, he might not have those stats right off the top of his head, but if somebody wants to have that information about how much timber tax have you gotten in the past, that's something we would be able to answer for you if you gave us a call or sent us an email.
I just want the public to know that there is a lot more involved than just you paying taxes.
Yeah, thank you. Remind me what your name is?
I'm right there.
Okay, nice to meet you. I'm sure there's always questions about the school, so. Yes, ma'am. Yes, PUD 3.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Sheila Corson.
Hi, Sheila.
Great. So one of the things that we're always interested in partnering with schools is workforce development type things, skills training, because a lot of our jobs are, as you probably can guess, a lot of the trades and that type of work. But we also have accountants and communications professionals and engineers and all kinds of different jobs. And so we want to make sure that we're partnering with our schools to show the kids the jobs, give them that inspiration, those ideas. So what are some of the things that North Mason wants to do for workforce development and working with local industries?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that a lot of places we're very fortunate that we have a career tech center, West Sound Tech, which is a great resource for our community and our students. But we also are fortunate that we have a lot of career tech education at our school. We have the James Taylor High School where they've added new programs. I think it was last year that they added the EMT program, and I believe this year they've added underwater robotics. But we're always looking for those partnerships, apprenticeships, internships, et cetera, with different industry partners. We had the opportunity to host some of our local and not so local firefighters in July when they were here fighting the Toonerville fire, and we were able to put them up in the middle school gym, so they had a place to stay and eat. And DNR also said, like, what can we do to help partner with the school so that people understand, like, we need wildland fighters and firefighters in general and this and that. And so I was able to put them in contact with our career tech director, and while we have a great program in some of those areas, we definitely need to start getting the word down to our younger, like upper elementary kids, so that they actually understand that there are different careers out there that maybe they've never even heard of, and it might be something to aspire to. So if you have ideas, we are more than happy to listen to them, and thank you for sharing that about the 5th grade event that you're having down in Shelton. So yeah, and I'll make sure that our principals who are one was new last year, and one is still earlier in her career as well. We'll make sure that they know, as well as our curriculum director. So that would be an amazing opportunity. So I thought I saw somebody else's hand. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I have limited.
Oh, you did a whole bunch of printing today too. I see that.
But so my husband has been on the school board of Greatview for too long. Since my daughter was 12, I think, my oldest daughter, and she's now 26.
Well, thank you for his service and the family service of him being gone.
Because, every time he wants to quit or retire from it, I just say, well, until you find someone who can take your place, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Because the kids are depending.
Yeah.
And the school board, my opinion, just mine, the school board is really important as far as making decisions and looking at the whole big picture. So I've attended quite a few of those because I used to be a PTA mom too. So how does the school board here work? Because it's different.
It's slightly different, but
There's
it's
governance, which I do not quite understand.
yeah. So I am definitely not an expert in policy governance, and it's not unique just to North Mason, but it is different than a lot of school districts. So in the district I worked in previously, there was the school board, also 5 members, and they have their policies around which they're, lending guidance and helping to make decisions for the school district. And North Mason has those too, but they're layered under this policy governance model. And at first, I was kind of like, I don't really understand what this is, but the longer I've been here, and I think we can do a better job as a district trying to explain to the community what it is. But one of the things that I actually really, really like about it is that each month there are what are called monitoring reports, and there are certain policies that the board has identified as, we want to report on this every September, we want to report on this every October. and it is around their policy, and the superintendent, myself, has to give a presentation to the board explaining how it is that I've interpreted their policy, how we're enacting it in the school district, and what's the evidence that we're following the policy. And so it is in some ways hard to wrap your mind around, like if you're used to a traditional school board policy model, like what is that? Why is it different? It does, and it's kind of hard to explain, but it's not a rubber stamp. It's not a hands off. Like every single month, there is the opportunity for the board to hear the reports about progress, or if lack of progress, why it is that there was lack of progress, and affirming whether the superintendent is actually doing what the board wants. So every single month, they're basically saying like, yes, you're doing your job, or like, we really need you to do this a little bit better. And that was very different than the policy model that I was used to before, where you would just have an annual review if they got around to doing it, which is, school boards are busy, and the evaluation process usually takes a lot of time. And so working through goals with the board, like I like that they're asking me for specific information and expecting me to provide it to them, and if not, giving them the opportunity to say like, here's what we'd like you to do better. But it is, like you said, like trying to wrap your mind around it. You're like, what is this policy governance? And so no, it's not that I just go do whatever I want. I communicate with them regularly and have these reports that are part of the board meeting each month, so that the community also can see like what the progress is that we're making or not making in those areas that the board has identified as most important. Does that kind of answer your question a little bit?
Kind of.
You can come to a board meeting. No,
I've been to one of those, so-
no, I know. But I'd be happy to kind of,
Okay.
it's sometimes a little easier to show you with like the layout of the policies, because there are in a normal school district, there's policies around students, there's policies around staff, everything, curriculum, instruction. The only thing that's really different in policy governance is those first set of policies, which is around these ideas of every month we're going to be monitoring different tools. I was monitored in my previous superintendent role also. It just was in a very different way. And that I actually had more leeway as to what I was going to be reporting to my board in my previous job, versus like this month is actually going to be facilities. So I'm looking at Mrs. Moore back there, since she and I will be giving a report. Oh, you're back. Hi, kitty. But we'll be giving a report on facilities and sharing, here's what the policy says, here's how we've interpreted it as an administrative team, and here's the progress or where we need more support from the board. Yes, ma'am.
What have you found to be the most challenging since you started here?
The most challenging. There's just not enough time. I mean, in any day, like that's kind of, I don't mean that as a glib answer, but like for instance, yesterday I had intended to spend half the day in one of the elementary schools, and something kind of rose to the surface that required attention right then. And so I have this list of like what I hope to accomplish each week and who I want to meet and what I want to see, and knowing that it's one of the great things and also the challenges in being in a school district, like it's never boring. Like never, ever, ever will I ever say that I was bored at work. But just being able to try to be all things to all people, because there's just so many needs, and it takes a while to get people to understand who you are as a human and learn to trust you, that you're going to actually be a trustworthy human that they can lean on if they need to. So I have a lot of work to do, but it's been really fun so far. So, yes, sir.
Were you surprised when you came to find the curriculum had a substantial DEI program incorporated into the curriculum?
I think that it has been such a challenge both in Ohio and in Washington around the idea of what is DEI in the curriculum. And so there is the state materials, which have a lot more information with some of those things that are just not done. So I hate to even say the word, I'll just give you a for instance. Like for instance, there was a question that I received recently around DEI and sex education and kindergarten, and wanting to know if we X, Y, and Z. And while you could probably really dig into Washington standards and find something with a resource link that looks a little fishy, like that's not what we're doing with our kindergartners. We're doing what is health education, teaching them to be friends, and those are the main standards. But there are definitely those challenges that maybe some schools have taken in a way that is not in line with their community's priorities and values. And I don't know if I'm answering your question correctly, but I still have a lot of learning to do, but one of the things that my predecessor did was actually did a deep dive with the technology department and went and like looked for any type of analysis that could be considered DEI and tried to identify like, is it something that is in our curriculum or is it just in something that is recommended from the state level that is not required at the local level? You look a little skeptical, so yeah. But I'm happy to talk to you about it more or try to answer your question more closely. Yes, ma'am.
So what is your adopted SEL curriculum?
So,
Like at elementary level?
yeah. So, and again, I'm still learning, but we use the Character Strong materials, and we are also using some second step materials around bullying.
So second step just for bullying?
That is my understanding. Like, I have not been in enough classrooms to be able to tell you like 100% that's exactly what's happening. But I do know from talking with my curriculum directors and my principals and my counselors that that is the resource that is a supplemental, but the Character Strong is the one that's been adopted. And I will say, I still have a lot to learn about Character Strong, so, yes, sir.
So as a non-educator, and
Yes.
knowing both of you are, because as you know,
Yeah.
what does second step bullying versus other because when you said second step bullying, you went like this, which means there's other second steps that aren't included, again, to the best of your knowledge.
Yeah.
So for a non-educator, translate that into basic what?
Okay, I've been retired 3 years, I was from CK. I'm a kindergarten teacher, that's my jam, I love kindergarten. So, we would adopt a curriculum, I was from fairly, I would say conservative elementary school, kinda like this, kind of rural, and we would be like, okay, principal, like, we had second step, and I thought they were really kids love them. But, the bullying part, and I, it's old second step, because I understand there's a new edition. I'm not overly familiar with. I liked the bullying part. Some of the other parts, they were not my favorite. I would say all families are different. Now we're moving on. So that is an adapt. I mean, we were able to do that where it was for the demographic and our staff. It was kind of Character Strong. Is that the one with Rockman and all that?
I can't. I probably have somebody in the audience who's worked in the districts longer who could probably answer that. I can't tell you for sure at this point, but I'm happy to find out that answer and get back to you. Rockman.
Well, there's all kinds of.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's more for the little guys.
Okay.
But it could, again, it's a couple of years since I've been
Yeah.
here, so.
Yeah. So I'd say like what kind of that mumbo jumbo of acronyms that sometimes happens is like both Second Step and Character Strong are commercially developed materials that can be purchased by a school district to meet standards. And sometimes when there's one that is published at the national level, it might not be a great fit for some of the standards for a particular state.
Well, I think what I heard though is, okay, so we have these puppets and we talk about bullying, and then we talk about families, small families are different. So we don't get into, I'm married to my wife versus I'm married to my husband, or these two gals are married, we just say all families are different.
All
we just
families
sort of
are different.
open it.
Yeah.
And,
I mean-
and trust the parents to instruct their children on those topics.
Yes. And I would say that, like, I'm a huge believer in public education, but I also believe strongly that families can make the choice to homeschool, to go to Catholic school, to go to Christian school, or to ask questions about what's happening at school, and we should be able to answer your questions in a way that makes you feel comfortable that we're not doing things that you are surprised about.
One other question?
Yes, sir.
Who is the most important teacher to a child?
Who? The parent,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you.
But I mean, I will also say I will say that I was a working mom and I was in a small community and, you know, I leaned on my kid's bus driver. I leaned on their teachers, the minister, everybody.
Absolutely,
But
you have the right
I
ones.
would never expect the bus driver to do something different than what I would as a parent. So,
Very happy to hear it. That's good.
I just want to add.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that,
Kitty.
when they, have the kids go through some of these educational things, they do send out links to the parents, so you can see what is being taught. And so I always go and watch all the videos and read all the stuff that will be given to my students.
good, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. And I will say, you know, I've had experience in Ohio where a family has looked at the curriculum materials and said, like, I'm just really not comfortable with this topic or this book. Like, we would work either with the building principal and the teacher to try to find something that was acceptable that would still teach the same information. But I don't want to see parents and public education in a battle. Like, we all want what's good for kids. Anyone have an easier question than that? So, yeah, yes, ma'am, and then I'll come back to you.
The easy question
Okay.
would be, so you mentioned school board meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Are they still during the week on Zoom only, or are they actually in person?
They're-
at the time
they're in
that people
person.
can make it?
They're at 6, so that's probably depends on whether you think that's a time that you can get home from work in the traffic and all that good stuff. And it's also in person, but it's also live streamed.
Okay.
So somebody could choose to stay at home and either watch it or watch the recording, but it is in person at the school board office. Audience members are there. There's always an opportunity to fill out a card if you would like to speak about something, and then there's public participation part.
Okay, what day of the week is that?
Mondays, the 4th Monday of each month.
Okay.
Yeah, so the 22nd this time. I'm sorry, 6:30. My previous life, they were at 6. 6:30. So,
That's even better.
yeah, it is.
And how long do they last?
Well, it depends on what presentations are going on, how many audience members there are doing public participation, but I would say the average is about 90 minutes to 2 hours. And we do have people who will come just for presentations and then leave, or people who only want to come for a certain part, and that's also acceptable. We let you leave. We don't lock the doors, so, yeah.
We do.
Oh, Grapeview locks the doors. We don't lock our
No,
doors.
I meant here.
Oh, okay, here. Yes, ma'am.
And where is it held?
In the school district office, which is on the main campus, so if you know where the old high school was, it's next to the old high school. If you know where the current high school is, it's in front of the new high school. Yeah. But we,
It's
we
just follow the crowd, right? Or back of the crowd.
yeah, absolutely. And you might accidentally follow them to a football game or a soccer game, because there always is a lot of things going on a school district campus. But yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm a graduate from here, and I'm quite literate.
Okay, excellent.
I've attended some college.
Okay.
So, you know, for those of you, it is a pretty good school system. You know, I don't know what's happened in the last 50 years, but I know I did pretty well.
Yeah, there are some impressive graduates and some families with deep roots in North Mason. So hopefully it's a district that just can continue to be a good fit for the community and provide as many opportunities as we possibly can for all kids. So,
I have great nieces now.
okay, good, good. Come to an event. Okay, awesome. Come to a board meeting if you'd like, so. Yes, ma'am.
What were we gonna say? Oh, during COVID, a lot of people were homeschooling their children. Do you see, I don't know if you can answer this or not, but maybe someone else here can, like, have you seen, where people have continued to homeschool, or are they coming back to the school district?
Yes and no. I would say like there are, I'm looking at Dan because he'll probably correct me if I'm wrong. We're about the same population as we were pre-COVID, but there are definitely more families who are choosing to homeschool across the state, across the country. Our population we lost quite a few during COVID, as many districts did, but we're back to about the same place we were pre-COVID with enrollment. Am I being accurate?
Fairly accurate.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's been a slight increase in the last couple of years in enrollment. We have a program called Home Link, which is an alternative program for students who work, who work from home with support from staff in the school district. That student population is getting smaller each year since COVID, but it's still larger than it was prior to COVID.
Mhm. We also have a small population who perhaps has to work during the day and will participate in our night school
Right
at
now,
James
we're
Taylor.
still, identifying students that are in that program because our September enrollment isn't really reliable because we have a lot of students who are just kind of getting back in. We rely on our October count for reporting to the state where our enrollment is. So, and also right now our alternative learning ALE enrollment combines both HomeLink, the number I have, combines HomeLink and James Taylor Alternate School. So together it's a little over 100 students. And I can't really say right now without looking at my reports how many of those are HomeLink and how many are James Taylor.
44 are on like right now.
44, okay.
Nice. Well done,
I
Rob.
knew somebody was there.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's different. The home link is different than homeschool.
All right.
So, yeah. If I had to guess off the top of my head, I believe it's probably around 120 students who are homeschooled. But if you want to know specifically, we can find that info for you.
There are other students in our attendance area in North Mason who attend other homeschool programs that are not sponsored or part of our school district. So that's a little bit harder number for us to identify, although families are required actually to fill out an intent to homeschool form with our school district. It's hard for us though to monitor that or to enforce that. So, but we really do try to track that, and that's something that every fall we work on trying to get a number.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm curious about the size of the high school,
Mm-hmm.
junior high, and two elementaries,
Yes.
just round numbers.
So I'm going to ballpark. We have approximately 200 kids per grade level. Some are a little bit bigger, some are a little bit smaller. So for instance, at our middle school, we have 3 grades, so it's approximately 600 kids, give or take. And so just kind of like if there's 4 at the high school, there's approximately 800 kids. Yeah. And that's been pretty steady, it looks like, for a long time here at North Mason. So
How about the elementaries?
the elementaries, so they're not exactly half and half because of one elementary is bigger than the other, attendance areas, the length of the bus ride. But if you put all the 5th graders together, there'd be approximately 200. But you used to be a principal at Belfair, Dan. Do you know approximately the percentage that's at one elementary versus the other?
So we're talking about 940 elementary students, kindergarten through grade 5. 450 of those are at Belfair Elementary School and 550 at San Antonio.
Okay.
Now that doesn't income, we have a transition to kindergarten program, that doesn't include those students because they're just getting started. But usually we have around 34 transition to kindergarten students as well that would be added to that count. So when we count them all together, we'll have about 970 early learners from pre-K through 5th grade.
So is your, I'm just curious, your, at least jump started at pre-K class, do you start them in the fall?
We do start them in the fall, and I think the date is October 1 this year for TQK.
Mm-hmm.
The teachers begin year by meeting with families, doing a lot of planning, registering students. There are students that are 5 years old, but weren't old enough to be in kindergarten to meet that cutoff. And so some of those students might have a birthday in September even.
Yeah.
So it's helpful for us to have kind of a child find process to identify students that are eligible and who are not included in another preschool program within the school district.
Going once. I'm gonna go with you because you've only asked one question.
Come on.
All right, so Washington State has, and it came from this county, was the Parents' Bill of Rights transport was part of the development of the Parents' Bill of Rights. That has been adjusted, in the state legislature. You as the superintendent, obviously you're gonna set the tone, and then you trickle down through your principals. And you've already indicated that the parents are important, are an important part of the student's life. How are you going to make sure that parents, that transparency and that communication is honored so that parents, I mean, it was voted on, people wanted that parent bill of rights, regardless of what the legislature is doing. How are you going to ensure that that intention is maintained, not only for the welfare, for the students, but also for parents, because parents there shouldn't be secrets at school that parents find out after the fact, so.
Yeah, no, and
That's a huge issue going on, maybe not so much here in Washington, in our district, but, how are you going to make sure that doesn't become an issue in our school district?
I think that Ohio actually does have a Parent Bill of Rights that passed, I don't know, a year or so ago. And so I need to understand like what it is that Washington says. I'm going to assume that they're pretty similar. And there's different resources that they have for school superintendents to read the bills and to understand the intent behind them. And I just completely lost my train of thought, which I hate that I do. But I will say that my common practice is that when we have any type of new policy, that we ensure that our administrators know what the policy is. I do remember what I was going to say. One thing that is really fascinating to me from being from out of state is this idea that 13-year-olds and up can make their own decisions medically, which is drastically different than what I'm used to in Ohio, where it was 18. And there's like a little, in my outsider view, there's a little bit of tension in this state law that you can make decisions once you're 13 that in many other states you wouldn't be able to make without a parent there with you. But the Parent Bill of Rights, I think that I need to understand exactly what it says, and I need to find a way to work with community members to have a process for parents to ask questions. So for instance, referencing that we send materials home, that we have links that are there, but our intention is never to exclude a parent or a family from being a part of their child's education. So I think I need to know more about what ours says, and I have met with the representative, and we talked about it just a little bit, but it was very surface level, and so I don't want to just give you a surface level answer without knowing more about the bill and what its intent was and where it is in the state level. So I'm not trying to not answer your question is what I'm trying to say.
No, it's just, it is important, I mean, my kids are grown, so I, don't necessarily have to, it's not an issue in my household, but I know for a lot of people it is, and, the schools are entrusted with our kids. Means we shouldn't find stuff out after the fact, there shouldn't be secrets. We're entrusting you with our most valuable, life work. And so there needs to be that reciprocal, it's a partnership. And you can't have a partnership if somebody's, doing things behind their backs.
Yeah.
So I hope that you will, regardless what the state does, I hope that you will advocate and fight to maintain that open relationship, and so that parents can stay aware of health and well-being of their students,
Mhm.
their children, because they are our most valuable resource.
Absolutely, and I think the school would agree with you in that any school is wants to, that same thing, like to provide a safe and welcoming environment for kids and to protect your assets of your most valuable, that family member that you have. But if there are families that are feeling like that the district's keeping secrets from them or not being transparent, like I just want them to reach out to me and we'll, have a conversation and work through whatever the situation it is. But again, I think that one of the things I've heard out and about in the community is like people trust our teachers. Like you ask people what they love most about the schools, like it's this teacher or that's teacher. It's not, it's not me. It's not the school board. And I think that the teachers wouldn't be as valued and revered as they are if parents were, if feeling like that teachers were keeping things from them. So any parent, anybody who's concerned about us not being honest or being up forth, like just come in, we'll talk about it. Yeah. Again, I'm not trying to not answer your question. I just am still new enough that I still have a lot of learning to do about some of the nuances between. But again, like I'm used to a parent bill of right and the intent behind it from the state government in Ohio, and some of the challenges we had with helping parents help us ensure that they were getting the answers and the transparency that they wanted. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, so, how do you feel about, well, you weren't here.
Okay.
But there were quite a few mandates during COVID and after COVID that came down from OSBI
Mm-hmm.
that some parents may or may not have had strong reactions to,
Mm-hmm.
because, just my personal opinion, sometimes they overreach, and that's why we came up with the parent bill of rights.
Mm.
But how do you feel about, the superintendent of public education dictating things that go against what the community wants, what the parents want?
Mm. Yeah, that, and are you talking about masking in general or just other?
No, there are other things.
There were other things.
For education,
Okay.
Sex education,
Oh.
different things that
That were
affect our
came from there.
children
Yeah.
that some parents will not like.
Yeah.
So, is that a school board thing?
I'm trying to read between the lines with your question. So you're
So
You're
if
saying-
OSBI comes up with a mandate.
Yes.
And says this school district has to do this thing,
Mhm.
regardless of how the parents feel about it or the community feels about it, how does the school react?
Well, I mean, I think one of the great things about a school district is that local control. OSPI or any state board of education is really, it's governing, but it's also just really supposed to be advisory. I will also just go ahead and tell you up front that in Ohio, there is not a superintendent of education anymore in Ohio. It's a governor appointee, and part of that oversight because of some disagreements in the state there. And I'm not suggesting that is always a good solution, because there certainly have been a lot of challenges with that change. But I think that your people's voice, like, come to those meetings, let the board know what it is that you're concerned about. But the board, the superintendent, like we are stewards of the community as well as have this level of advice that we get from the state. So there is sometimes some tension, but I feel like there's enough local control that there is not anything that we are required to do that is outside the realms of what people would be comfortable with. But if you know of a specific instance, like,
I'll ask.
we'll talk. Okay. Yeah. Any more questions? Yes, sir.
I'll just give a specific instance.
Mm.
The president gave an executive order basically banning DEI from instruction, from institutions throughout the nation.
Mm-hmm.
The state OSBI sent out a letter to all the superintendents saying, ignore that executive order. So how do you ban it?
Oh, man. I hate it when we get stuck in the middle, between state representatives and federal, and it is really hard. And I will say that, knowing that I have experienced a situation where the state and the federal does not align, the district is always advised to work with your school board's attorney and work with your school board to make sure that you are, following the law to the best of your ability, and having the board decide what it is that they interpret with the help of the attorney is the way that the law is. Because again, like, nobody wants to be the guinea pig for being sued for anything, but it just seems like really unfair that we're kind of put in this pinch point between the two, when it should be decided, not judiciated at the school district as an example of doing something right or wrong. So there is no great answer when there's that dichotomy, and we're told to follow this state law and this federal law, because we have to follow both. So I know that's not probably an answer that you love, but I don't want to bankrupt this school district by doing something by breaking a federal law or a state law. So we try to do the best we can with all the information we have and take legal guidance, so that we don't just step in it on our own. So. Well, I think we've got some Jack Daniel's tiramisu to eat, so. Yeah. But yeah, so I would say that in October, I know that the Citizens Committee for the school levy will be here to share additional information about the levy and their thoughts around why they believe it's essential for the school districts. I can answer questions that are factual in nature. The committee did bring some handouts. Those are not district handouts. They're committee handouts and some buttons. And we have really some great community members here in this room who will be here again in October as part of that presentation. And so we encourage you to come back and quiz us some more. But yeah, and I'm also always open to, like, if you have a question or a concern or something that you've been stewing about, like, please just call my office. Like, I'll come meet you for coffee. I'll invite you for soup with the sup, and you still might not like my answer, but at least I can try to at least I can try to understand more and try to assure you that we do take the fact that your children being sent to our school district are your most valuable I don't know, like, we just all love them with our hearts, and we want what's best for them. And if there's people in the community that are concerned that we're not taking that responsible seriously, like, I want to have that conversation and try to assure you that we are taking that very seriously. Yes, ma'am.
I guess, so just my feedback on, things to focus on, having raised a few kids through the school district is, focus on the foundations. And then teach them, for the love of goodness, accountability, because that's probably one of the biggest problems. You might have the big sign at the cafeteria in the high school that says, no charging allowed. But then I get every month a statement that says, oh, so-and-so owes, $5. So follow the rules, apply the rules, make them, and apply accountability across the board. And for the love of goodness, focus on the foundations. Reading, writing, basic math. And for the high schoolers, please teach them about W-4s and how to fill in an I-9.
Yeah.
And how to have proper ID.
Yes. Yeah. I thought you were going to say cursive for sure. So. Yeah.
That confuses
Yeah.
me.
But,
Yeah.
We'll start with I-9, accountability, and how to understand what your taxes are.
We used to teach citizenship.
They also
Well,
teach
hey,
life
you bring that
skills.
one back, that would be great.
Home back.
Yeah. Family and consumer science. Yeah. It means home ec. Yeah.
Balance the checkbook.
Yeah. It's home ec.
Balance the checkbook. Know that a debit card does not mean just because you have it, there's money. Yeah. Keep track of that plus or minus thing.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for coming and spending some time this evening with us. I appreciate it.